same company that owns Expo, Neo Rubbermaid, Sanford Brands, also owns Mimeo. And Mimeo is based out of Boston. It was started in the late 90s by a bunch of geeks up there at MIT.
Awesome.
They call themselves Digital Ink. So if some of you have seen the capture feature that we're going to go over today, where you can actually write on your whiteboard with dry erase markers but digitally save those dry erase notes. That's exactly how they got started. And then they got into the interactive mode. So we really have two modes in Mimeo. One of them is interactive. That's where we'll spend probably most of our time this morning is in interactive mode. So I'll just run through the toolbox and show you some cool stuff you can do. You met Lyndon, who was in here just a minute ago, Lyndon Bosch, the IT guy. The new Mimeo, the latest Mimeo Studio 7, the new software, was released about 3 weeks ago. And I've been to a couple of those schools, but he's got them locked down. I mean, you know, teachers can't just go download stuff, and because you can get all kind of crazy stuff happening when you do that. So I'm going to send the information to him. He's going to put it out there on the server. You know, he knows it's safe, and they can download it from there. So we need to get Studio 7 out there. So when you're in the schools working with the teachers, you're probably going to see Studio 6, which is the old version. Just want to give you a heads up. It's coming. And the sooner we do it, the better. I have been in a few schools, so this is your Mimeo bar. It can be powered actually 3 ways. So we have an AC adapter that some teachers are using, plugs right in here at the bottom. You'd have to have an AC, wall outlet right here to be able to plug it and power it that way. I'm on the road all the time. I know up here in DeSoto County we use a lot of AA batteries. A lot of them have bought rechargeable batteries, so you can power it that way. You could also plug in a provided USB cable, 16-foot USB cable, from the computer. And when you plug that USB cord, there's another cord that you got to deal with. But you could power it that way as well. So if your wireless module went out, or something like that, or she lost her USB receiver, which we'll talk about in a minute, that happens. You could still power it, she could still use the Mimeo. He or she could still use the Mimeo. Speaking of that, this black USB receiver right here, all the people up here have purchased the wireless module, which is right here. So this is how your computer talks to your Mimeo bar. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to leave it sticking somewhere where students can walk by. Oh man, it's a jump drive. I'll get that. Put some music on it. You can't download or put any data on this thing. All it does is talk to the Mimeo bar. Plugs into your PC. You got your wireless communication. I don't think. We have quite a few schools that have the Mimeo pad, which is right here. I'll charge mine up. For those of you who do, there is a separate USB receiver. It is this one right here. It's kind of a light gray color. That's how that pad talks to my PC. So we don't want to lose either one of those receivers.
I have a question for you.
All right.
Can you do more than one pad per PC?
You can do up to 60.
60? That's cool.
So you can actually mate them a pair. Once you get your pad plugged in, you push that little red button on the back, starts blinking blue. You push the button right here on the receiver, and it pairs that pad to that receiver. So think about that in a classroom. If you've got modules, maybe you got the students separated into groups, and maybe you want each one of them to have a pad so that they could respond and put something on the board. You could do up to 60 if you wanted to. Never had anybody do that yet, but you can do it. All you got to do is pair them. That's what you have to do.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that similar to the Mobi, the Interlight tablet?
Very similar to the Mobi. It is. If I can back up for a second, I know we were just having a conversation about some teachers have their projectors ceiling mounted, some of them are working off of carts or tables. So important that you probably need to know, because when I go to schools that are like that, I see images all kind of cockeyed and crazy looking. I'm kind of type A about my image. I like my image, good and perfectly rectangular. It could be a little bit better because I got a little bit of a gap down here. So here's a question for you, true or false? Further you move a projector back away from the board, the larger the image gets.
True?
True.
But
So the closer you move the projector, the smaller the image gets.
But can't you adjust the,
You can, and you have a focus where you can go up and down, and that's just really for you to fine tune it. But if you want to make your image larger, you're going to have to back the projector up a little bit. I usually tell teachers, if you got to do it on a cart, either get you a marker or some tape and put it where your wheel's going to go, so you don't have to worry about trying to get it where you want it every time. Just slide it back in the same place. Or, even better than that, you can take a dry erase marker, make a little mark right here on your screen, on all four corners, and just put your image, move it till you get your image right in there. That's a pretty easy way, because sometimes people struggle with that, and they don't need to be spending time doing that. They need to be engaging the students. And that's really what Mimeo is all about. Make the teacher's job a little easier to do, so they don't have to worry about hooking up stuff and doing all this technology stuff. They spend more time engaging with students. That's exactly what they're all about. And I'll show you
I don't think
how
we're
we
going
can
to
do
be
that.
doing anything wirelessly, but thank you.
Mimeo bar attaching to the whiteboard. When it comes out of the box, it has these brackets on here. And it has, already put on there, when you buy it out of the box, it's poster tape, 3M command tape. I carry a whole thing of it with me everywhere I go, because sometimes you got to fix them. But they might not have any more spare tape. But what I have seen, people misplace their brackets or they don't want to do it. It does have suction cups. So we can attach the Mimeo to the board with suction cups and use it like that. That is not recommended for long-term usage. Not recommended. We'd rather you use your brackets. They'll only fit one way, so you can't hardly mess that up. But you may see it while you're out there. You probably will. Yes, ma'am.
I've seen a couple teachers that have the magnets, and then they put like the clear tape over the Mimeo to the board. So,
Clear tape over the Mimeo?
Over the Mimeo.
Yeah, we do have a magnetic bracket. That's probably a magnetic, because I think that's a pretty nice board. Some schools have purchased magnetic brackets, but if the board is magnetic, you can use these brackets instead. Mount it like that. The only thing I'd caution you about, if you happen to move the Mimeo, you're probably going to pull the brackets off with it. So you're going to have to recalibrate when you get the Mimeo back up there. The magnetic brackets are good, but you got to have, your board has to have some magnetic properties. So this is good. Anytime you got a question, fire away. So I'm going to put my double-sided tape on the back of these brackets. Yours should already be there. Peel the red side. Doesn't really matter. Y'all have all used poster tape, right? Poster tape. That's not too complicated. So I'm glad I had that conversation with Lyndon, so we can get that new software out there. So y'all might be hearing that and assisting some teachers putting the new software out there.
I just downloaded the version 7 to my school's computers 2 days ago. But I got it straight off the Mimeo website. But I used our license that we have. So is that okay, or is?
Sure.
Okay.
If you want to download the Mimeo software on your computer at home, your personal computer, it's free. You can download it. When you go to the website and download Studio 7, all it asks for is your first and last name, your zip code, and your email address. They're not going to bother you or sell your name or anything like that.
I have the 30-day free trial, but my work computer didn't have Mimeo software on it because I obviously don't have a Mimeo board in my office there. But they let me download the software on my computer that I can help teachers find things and help them create projects. I just downloaded 7 instead of 6.
Is it a 30-day thing, you say?
I had the 30-day trial at first, and then they gave me the code that was on the software box that came with their Vimeo. So now I have the.
Well, because this is the first release of a new version of software, they're not doing what, I know y'all familiar with auto run, so I can show you in the settings where you tell it, notify me when the software update is available. So it's the first release of a new software, so they wanted you to actually go and download it. I guess they're trying to work out any kind of kinks they might have, bugs or something like that. So if you happen to have the opportunity or the reason to remount a Mimeo on the board, we always recommend that you take isopropyl alcohol, because whiteboard surfaces by nature are oily. And don't take Expo cleaner, which you know, the same people make the Expo cleaner too. But, you know, it has oils in it, so we always recommend IPA to make sure that board surface is dry. So when you stick that bracket on there, it's there to stay. We want it to live on the board in the classroom. If you want to take the Mimeo out, it'll pop out of the brackets. If you don't want to leave the Mimeo on the board, it'll pop out of the brackets, no problem. So I'm going to see where my bracket's going to fit on the board. Do a little IPA work. Make sure my board surface is clean. However, this is a very nice board. When you put the Mimeo on the board, we like to say at least a hand's width between the Mimeo and the projected image. I have a document that I could send all you guys, but it'll say 5 inches or something like that. But that's probably close enough to 5 inches, I think. Let that dry for a minute. Something else to remember while that's drying. Let's say in this case right here, you're in a classroom and the only wall out, or the closest wall out, is on the right-hand side. If you want to move your projected image over, you can mount the Mimeo upside down and still use it that way.
Yeah, that was my next question.
It doesn't really care where you put it. You know, you can put it up here, you can put it down there. The main thing is it's putting out an infrared and an ultrasound signal across that board surface. That's how it knows where your stylus pin is, which I'll show you. That's going to be your mouse when you're at the board. But if you're going to move it on this side, you can't put it like that.
Nope.
You got to put it like that because the signal's got to go that way. You might put it like that, but you'll find that you won't be able to do anything over here where your projected image is. This happened, trust me.
I do have one question since you mentioned the infrared. The problem that we're having at my school is that the lights are infrared motion detector lights, and it's messing with the stylus.
It is.
It's
It will.
making the board go crazy. When you're trying to write on it, it's just jumbled up.
What school are you at?
Lewisburg Middle School.
I have been there.
They have gotten cardboard boxes and they're putting them over their light sensors.
Yeah, I think I might have started that. But usually in those motion sensing detectors, there's kind of like a little bank of, they call them dip switches. They're like miniature wall switches. You can actually turn, because the infrared is getting minute movement. The ultrasound is what gets, you know, big movements out there and turns the lights on when you walk in a room. So I have been to, I think it was either, now maybe it was Center Hill Middle, and we had the same situation. We just cut a couple of those switches off. But you probably won't be up there having to, you know, take the cover off of the motion sensing detector and figure out which switch. Lewisburg Middle, you said, right?
Yes, Lewisburg Middle.
I'll put that on the list of things to do.
Thank you.
All right. When we're running off of batteries, you do have to push that large button right there on the Mimeo bar. If y'all want to touch one and feel one, you can pass this around. That's what it looks like and feels like. Cool thing about working with the batteries, if your batteries do run low, this light will go amber. So it kind of tells you, but it doesn't put you out of business, but you know you got to change your batteries. But as I said before, most teachers in DeSoto County, they have purchased and are using the rechargeable batteries. So it's going to last you way through the week. If there's no activity on the board, if we're not doing anything on the board surface, for about 5 minutes, it'll cut itself off, go to sleep, so it doesn't run the batteries down.
That's cool.
If you're plugged in AC, it's on all the time. You can't turn it off and on by pushing that button right there, if you're plugged into AC. Not a big deal. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I know that a lot of principals are concerned about electricity consumption and all that stuff like that. I have been to schools where they cut off everything. If you want to cut it off, just unplug it. That's all you got to do. Might want to unplug it before you go home for Thanksgiving break, spring break, Christmas break, or something like that. But it doesn't consume very much electricity at all. But if you're using AC power, you can't use a switch, you got to unplug it. You notice on the Mimeo bar that we have a solid green and a blinking green light down here in the bottom? That tells me that I'm communicating with my USB receiver. If you don't have communication, it'll be amber. So I know sometimes, you know, USB ports go to sleep or whatever, so you might have to either move it to another USB port. You can pair and mate this USB receiver to that bar. But when it comes out of the box, they're already paired together. I don't think you'll have to go there, but there's a little bitty button on this little USB receiver, and if you have somebody who wasn't communicating you want to try it, you press that little button down with either a pencil point or paper clip until it starts blinking. And you go up here and you push what they call the learn button. It's right underneath the power button. And that's how you pair that mini wireless receiver with the USB module, in case you ever run into it. The only way that would happen is if somehow or other receivers got swapped or mini bars got swapped between rooms, which I don't think, probably that wouldn't happen. I doubt it, but anything's possible. I heard somebody talking about calibration. We have 2 large buttons and 3 smaller buttons on the Mimeo bar. So if you push the bottom button, it's going to give you the calibration screen. The only time you really need to be careful, not exactly careful, but we want to hold the pin perpendicular to the board and touch the direct dead center of that X. The reason that's important because I'm sure you've probably all been there. If you're out of calibration and you're trying to resize something or close something out and your cursor's over here and your pinpoint's over there, it's pretty aggravating. Very aggravating, actually. That's a Howard website. So now this becomes your mouse up here at the board. Anything you can do at your computer with your mouse, you can do with the stylus pen. Mimeo stylus pen. You got 2 buttons on the pen. The one closest to the tip is called the A button. By default, it's set to hover. But you can tell it, I'll show you how to go into the settings. You can tell it to do a bunch of different things. You've got a favorite website you want to go to, a printer or whatever. You can set it, the bottom button. The top button, the one furthest away from the point, is called the B button. That is set to right click. You can customize that button, but if I were you, if I was a teacher, I'd leave it alone. So you know you're going to get your right click menu. I don't want to do that. Didn't have to touch the board. All I have to do is touch the B button. You get the right click menu.
What does hover mean?
I'm sorry?
You said the A button is set to hover. What is that?
Hover. So instead of, when we pull the Mimeo 2 box up, all you have to do is hover over something to see what it is. You don't actually have to touch it and open it.
Oh, gotcha.
Pretty busy desktop, isn't it?
It is.
So this is your icon for Studio 7. Studio 6 looks somewhat like that, but it's not purple. So you remember we're using a mouse here. So if I want to double click, like with your mouse on your desktop, I double click it. Should open Mimeo Studio 7. It's coming, it's coming. So now when we put our pinpoint right in the middle of that O on 2s, that's exactly where our cursor should be. That's why calibration is important. I could do a real crummy calibration and show you, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Your pinpoint's up here and your cursor's over here and you're trying to close and do stuff. Pretty aggravating. The kids start laughing at you, you know, and all that stuff like that. So if I go to Tools and Settings, this is where if your teachers have maybe a ceiling mounted projector and they haven't done this already, if our guys do the installation, they always go through the software and set this up before we leave. But you could tell it to always use the previous calibration and automatically enable when a device is detected. Software update, probably want to check that box down there, notify me when software updates are available. Even though, remember I said with the new version, they're not doing the auto run thing now. In the future they will, but for right now, you actually have to go. In DeSoto County's case, Lyndon's going to put it on the server and they'll be able to download from the server, which would be pretty cool. That'll save a lot of stuff. Studio 7, it shows you what Mimeo devices you have connected if you go to classroom devices. So I've got my pad connected. I got my light gray USB receiver from my pad connected. And I've got my black USB receiver for the bar connected. So it knows what's connected. I'm looking for, if I can find it. Well, I don't know where it went. I was gonna show you somewhere where you could test, even though what you tell me is going on in Lewisburg Middle about the interference. There is what they call an environmental analysis.
Okay.
So, let me do a little searching here and I'll find it. I thought actually it would be right there, but it's not. It's probably not under language. Probably not there. Not there. Not there. Ah, under ink capture
Okay.
and settings, you have the environmental analysis for infrared and ultrasound. I think I've already done this over there, but if you hit the test button, it'll tell you that you passed both infrared and ultrasound. And if not, we got to either do something with the dip switches or disable something. Yes, ma'am.
Back at the settings where you had all the devices that were connected, I have a teacher at Lewisburg High School that has the sound box. I know most of them have the Promethean sound boxes, but this particular teacher has the one that's supposed to run with the Vimeo, and I'm not too sure about how to connect that because that's one of her biggest issues right now. She wants to
Is this
connect
Terry, the
all of
Spanish
them.
teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been in that
That's
class. That's a totally different system. It's called Extron, but we were involved with helping her get that. But the Vimeo will not detect that sound system, what do they call it? It starts with M, I can't think of the word right now. It's totally separate from Vimeo. And I'll tell you, a lot of things that you may run into, sometimes teachers, they call me, they tell me something's wrong with their Vimeo, it's making a frying, crackling noise or something like that. But the Vimeo and the projector are two different things. You could not have a Vimeo, you could not have a Smart, you could not have Promethean in a room, but you could have a projector. So they're two totally different things. Got to have a projector to be able to use a Vimeo. But remember that, because a lot of times they say they have a problem and they say, something's wrong with my Vimeo. But it's really something with the projector. But hopefully you won't have to troubleshoot that too much. So we talked a little bit before everybody got in here about teachers who are using carts or tables to mount their projectors on and getting that image, perfectly rectangular. Is everybody good with that? Hopefully most of you have them ceiling mounted. Well, we already showed you in the settings where you go to tell it to always use the previous calibration. But it doesn't take but just a few seconds, but if you feel like you're out of calibration, all you have to do is hit the, which button?
On the bottom.
There you go. Bottom small button. And you're good. So now we have full control of our desktop with our mouse. Anything we can do for our mouse, we can do it there. We want to run through the toolbox real quick?
Sure.
It's just a standard toolbox, pretty much like anybody. Obviously it looks like a pen, so it's a pen. Everybody remember the A button, the hover button? So if I didn't know what that was, I could click on it, and by golly, it's a highlighter. So you can click on that and it's text. We'll talk about how to enter text in there if you need to. Several different ways to enter text. So we have a pen, we have some basic colors there, we have a color palette with a lot of different colors that you want to choose a particular one. If those are not good enough, you can get like 16.7 million out of the visible spectrum. So I bet you can find a color that you like. So I kind of like red myself. So now we got a regular, just dry erase board up here, but it's now an interactive board. So you can write. We also have a slider bar down here. It's a line thickness bar that applies to all these tubes that we're going to put up there. So you could do a very thin red line, or you could do a very thick red line. A lot of these teachers have been to, we've done a lot of training events up here. So it may be, just like Lyndon said, they're kind of involved with teaching, and that's your primary job is to teach. But you don't remember all the little particular details. And I think most people do a few things that they kind of get comfortable with. I mean, I do, and probably all of us do. There's certain things that they use, but what I want to encourage you to do is make sure that they're using that Vimeo and engaging the students in the classroom. A little bit later on, I'll show you where to go to the Vimeo site for support, training, video tutorials. We've always told the teachers up here in the training, there's a site called VimeoConnect.com that you go to. You have to go and register. When you go there, you can download lessons that other teachers have posted. It's kind of like Promethean Planet. I don't know what SMART calls theirs. But you know, you choose your grade level and your subject area, and you get lessons that other people download. So please do me a favor. You get your teachers to do that. That's number one. Number two is, you know, you're going to download that lesson, and you're probably going to, you may want to change it, you know, to suit your students and your teaching style. But if they do, get them to post the thing back, because other teachers may be able to use what they did. So it's a big sharing community. And hopefully, you run into a lot of teachers, maybe steer them in the right direction to do that. Highlighter too. We like to get our highlighters real big, so you can highlight information. Think about a language arts teacher. You've got some text up there. Students come up there. I want you to highlight the nouns in blue, the verbs in red, the prepositions in yellow. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but you can engage the students while you're doing it. You probably don't hear me say the word engage a lot today. Eraser. That's probably the least efficient thing that we do, but you know, if you had to erase something, you could take the eraser and do that all day. There's more efficient ways to do that. Save the teacher time from walking around. Let's say I chose the selection tool up here, and I selected that object, then I could just delete it instead of me getting an eraser out and doing all that stuff. You know, with my back to the kids while I'm doing it, not good. Do the things that make you most efficient. Speaking about that, you really can't gain efficiency. You know, you've got important tasks with a lot of things in them, but you can't really cut that back a lot to improve the time that you have to spend with the kids. But all those little bitty things like erasing the whiteboard, you know, you turn your back to them, erase the whiteboard, write it all over again. If we can come up with some ways, and I can show you how we do that, you don't have to do that. You know, instead of doing that task 30 times a day and it takes you 2 seconds, maybe you only have to do it 10 times a day. So, you know, you're decreasing the amount of time that you're spending doing something else, but all that time needs to be directed to the students to engage it. That's what we encourage teachers to do. If you could help me do that, that'd be great. All these things are object-based, so you know, you can move them around. You can change the orientation of them if you want to. Once you select the object, you notice that it has some bubble looks around it, so you can change the orientation of that if you wanted to. Once you have the object selected, you can change the line thickness of it if you wanted to. You can change the color of it if you wanted to. So everything that you put up there, you can actually correct it, change it, edit it if you want to. I know one of the things about using a whiteboard and dry erase markers is once you write all that information on the board and you're ready to move on, you got to erase it. There's actually a study done. How much time do you think is spent in a year in a classroom erasing a whiteboard? Somebody take a guess.
Too much.
2 days. 2 days. Either the teacher did, or or students went up there and erased the whiteboard. So instead of me having to erase all that stuff right there, or select it and delete it, we're going to select new page right here. They just got 2 more days back in that school year. So what are we going to do in those 2 days?
Teach.
We're going to spend more quality time with the kids. We're going to engage the students. We're just talking a little bit about efficiency. Okay. Right on through this thing. Got any math people out here? We like math?
Sure.
Like straight lines if you're a math teacher, right? So you can draw all kind of straight lines any way you like them. You don't have to take a yardstick, and hold it up here like this and take your dry erase marker and draw a straight line. You can also notice that there's I don't know if you want to call it a chevron, with a little black triangle down there in the bottom. That means that you have some more choices that you can make. So if I want to do an arrow in, and you want to measure an angle, I could do it like that. Anybody ever do timelines when y'all were in class?
Mm-hmm. Always.
So there's a way that you could do a timeline, and you can get it on the board, nice straight arrow, or nice straight line. Anybody remember where the new page button was?
Right next to the little arrow.
Selection 2 right there. Think of that like a grabby hand, like on weather.com, you're on a map, or Google, you want to drag something around. It's a grabby hand. That's really what the selection tool is. But I can choose this right here. If I want to go back in the slides, I can hit that button right there. If I happen to be right here at the board. And your thumbnail view is over here on the right-hand side. So everybody's used to using PowerPoint, right?
Yep.
So it looks very much like PowerPoint. You can do the same thing. We get done today, we may have, I don't know, 15, 20, however many slides we make. But you'll be able to delete slides, move slides, any way you want to arrange it for your lesson. This is a good time to say this. Important to encourage them to have a good file naming system, a nomenclature, so that they know if let's say you imported a PowerPoint, but we imported it into Mimeo and we did some annotations, we marked it up. But you know, it was math, first period, 9/21/2010. However you want to just name it so that you can find it again. You don't have a bunch of files that don't have names. You got to go open all of them. You haven't saved yourself any time at all. So please encourage them to do that. That would be important. So if I want to go back to my blank page right here, I can either hit there and go forward, or I can double click there. I'm back on my new page. And we will go to a rectangular shape. You notice that I have an outside and inside color over yellow, but I'm going to make my outside border black. All you have to do is select that. I can choose nothing. And you're all probably sitting there thinking, so what? I mean, what are we going to do with that? I'll show you. We're going to import, I think it's a PNG file, but it's a skeleton. We call it fluffy. But you know, all the parts are labeled. So think about, it didn't have to be, that's more science related, but if you wanted to make cover slides for the kids to come up here, all right, Tommy, go up there and you show me where the collarbone is. And Tommy goes up there, you know, and he pulls the cover slide off of it. But if we had a cover slide like this, you'd be able to see the answer underneath it. Remember how we said to select it, touch it, you get the 4 white bubbles around the side. I can choose my fill color. So now, I'll show you when we pull fluffy up. I've got a cover slide. Those are real handy to use. And of course you can do ellipses and perfect circles. That's almost a perfect circle. And then for you Pythagorean theorem buffs, we have a whole bunch of triangles. We got right triangles. You can choose any color you like, choose any line thickness you like, choose any fill color you like. Remember, it's got the little black triangle looking thing in there, whatever you call that. So we can make all kind of triangles for our kids to work with in the classroom. Right triangles, stars, what else we got in there? Hexagons, pentagons, lots of cool stuff. I'm going too fast?
Yeah.
Text tubes. Kind of looks like a Tennessee symbol. So if we wanted to enter text, there's several different ways that you can do it, but once you select the text tubes and you touch the board, you notice that we have a blinking cursor up there. That would be important, because if you're going to enter text, you've got to have a blinking cursor. By default, the first thing that should come up is going to be out of the applications toolbox. If you click on text tubes, it should be an on-screen keyboard that you're probably all used to seeing.
Yeah.
There's an on-screen keyboard. So if I want to enter some text in there, I don't know why you'd want to do that on the fly or anything like that. I'm going to right-click. You have an icon down here on your taskbar. When your text tubes are turned off, there'll be a red X on it, right there. So we have an on-screen keyboard. We have something called Write Anywhere, which I really like. And we have a writing pad, which I'm sure probably all of you have seen. So if I select my keyboard, and I've got a blinking cursor up there, so my keyboard keeps disappearing.
It's still.
Yes.
Pardon me while I deal with this. Thank you.
It was already there.
It was minimized. Yeah, it was
Yeah, it was
minimized.
minimized.
Minimized? See, this, I've never had this happen before. That's kind of weird. So when I got to have a blinking
Yeah,
cursor to
tap-
enter that text.
Tap that for blinking cursor.
I'm sorry?
If you tap that for the blinking cursor, and you'll see it'll be minimized down at the bottom already.
Thank you very much.
No blinking cursor.
Oh, wow. Still not working.
Is there an option on the on-screen keyboard to make it stay on top? Because if you minimize the Mimeo Studio, it's going to be sitting behind it.
I did that before.
Check settings on the keyboard.
Y'all can help me figure this out.
Yeah.
This is-
On-screen keyboard.
Yeah, on the on-screen keyboard,
You go to settings.
go to settings.
It should say something like always.
Right there it says file keyboard settings on the keyboard.
Yeah,
Hit settings.
Always. It's already checked, huh?
cool. So I'm just kind of curious why I hit the, whenever I try to get my blinking cursor up there, that it does that. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to do the writing pad. Everybody's seen that before, right?
No.
So as long as I have a blinking cursor right there, I should be able to it's pretty good about recognizing text, about 92% accurate. Come on, come on.
Okay.
All we have to do is maybe correct a little error right there that we didn't capitalize the C in county, but it's all correctable because you've got this toolbox up here. So you can change font, you can change font size, color, all that good stuff. But I'm still kind of curious why, and of course, you know, we can backspace, like so. We can do a capital C, backspace again, and boom, it's fixed. So you can do all that at the board, but that seems a little bit cumbersome to me, especially since my on-screen keyboard blew up, and I don't know why. We'll work on that in a minute. The other method to enter text is called Write Anywhere. So you notice that I have my writing pad and my text tool is off right now, so if I right-click the B button, and I go to Write Anywhere, I should be able to have a blinking cursor. And you can convert text by doing it that way.
Oh, that's good.
It's called Write Anywhere. Something important to remember, if you use Write Anywhere, and I go back to the screen and I want to start doing something else, and all those marks, they disappeared, you don't know where they went. Because you have to turn the Write Anywhere box off, you know, that's your enter, your backspace, all that good stuff. You have to turn that box off, otherwise, when you write on the board, it disappears and you kind of wonder where it went. I would be wondering where it went. So I'll close that box out.
You have to set that up to recognize your handwriting, or it just does automatic?
There's automatic. And it kind of gets accustomed to your writing. But it's about 92%. I've seen some people with pretty ugly handwriting, but it still does a pretty good job of recognizing.
But if a teacher has a student come up, and then another student, and they're doing that, it's going to recognize their handwriting just like it does ours.
So it doesn't matter whether it's cursive or print, doesn't really matter, it'll recognize both. Really struggles trying to recognize numbers, you know. It does struggle to do that. I don't know if you want to do this, or teachers would do this while they're in class, maybe not. But, what's wrong with that?
It's too fat.
So how can I get rid of that? That's the most efficient way to get rid of that.
Select it.
You can do that, you select and delete it, or you can just hit this back button.
All
Get rid of it.
back buttons.
Might have forgot to show you all that one. Man, I messed that up. So we do have a feature where we can actually convert the text. So if we select that object right there, there's that's kind of got like a big bubble look. You can go to Tools and Recognize Ink, and it'll convert it to text. I don't know why maybe you want to do that during class. But when we get to the capture part, and you actually did write it there with dry erase, but you want to maybe convert it to text to clarify it, because you want to maybe print it out or put it out. You guys got websites, teachers got websites, right?
Yeah.
So you could actually save this thing as an HTML file, your lesson as an HTML. So if they got access to a computer at home, they actually go to your website and get it right there. You know, homebound student or sick student. That would be cool. While we're there, let's talk about saving. You know, we mentioned about file nomenclature a while ago. So if I try to close this document down, it's going to ask me, you know, what do you want to do with this? You want to save it or whatever. You can go to File, Save As. Need to have a spot to pick where you want to save your files. And there are all your file formats that you can save it in. Most people save it as a PDF file because everybody's got Adobe on their desktop. They can open a PDF document. The Minio file format, remember the geeks from MIT, Digital Ink, is .ink. Imagine that. You could also, for you guys that are, maybe you have some smart files or Promethean files, you can actually import those files into Minio if you wanted to. Smarter Promethean files. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So that's how you save them in all those different file formats, but if you're going to post it on your website, it would be in HTML. I don't know if any teachers in DeSoto County are doing that or not.
Are they fully transferable? Like, can you transfer any Vimeo file or import any Vimeo file into SmartBoard or Promethean, and vice versa?
Vice versa, yes. You can get Smart Promethean in Vimeo, but I'm not sure about Vimeo file going into Smart Promethean. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I know how to find out an answer.
Okay.
I know the guy to call. That's how we save files. Moving on. This is I'm going to hover on that thing. Insert file button. So we can click on that right there. We're going to, that's a busy file right there, but this is probably one of my favorite parts. That way I get to show you my grandkids. So when you want to highlight, that's actually happens to be a JPEG file, but if you can either double click it or you can highlight it and hit open.
Oh, look how cute she is.
That looks like a
So you can really make that thing quite large, you know. And if you needed to, you could annotate and write on it if you imported something like that. That's my baby granddaughter in Nashville, Tennessee. And then she a dog. That's importing JPEGs on push the import file button again. Probably just show you my grandkids in Chicago. So you know we could import audio into our lesson if we need audio. I think I'll turn my volume up because the only volume I've got right here is, don't want to blow it out too bad. So now we've got an audio file. Sometimes you have to pretend it's education. You know. But you know, there are other audio files that you want to put in your lesson. So you think about this, we're going to do a video file in a minute. You're going to have to really pretend this educational. But you can get educational files, you know, video files. But the point I want to make to you is all the stuff that we've been doing, the stuff we're importing in here, you can save it and have all that stuff in one place. The teacher, when she gets ready to prepare something, you're going to have to go hunt all that stuff and find it again. You save it, you have a good file naming system. You find that file, you may want to change it, you know, because maybe it's next year or later in the year. But you have all that stuff already put together. Your video files are in there, your audio files are in there. And of course you could put multiple files and minimize them because we can select the object and make it much smaller.
Can you change the icon for it now so that it doesn't look like a little speaker?
Not that I know
Or
of.
will it disappear in the, like when you save it? Or will it always show up? Kinda like
It'll
on a
always show up.
PowerPoint? Oh, okay.
They'll always show up.
But could you cover it with something?
I'm sorry?
Could you cover it with something?
Sure. Make a cover slide and cover it
Yeah.
up, if you wanted to. I'm gonna try to import this, notice when I double clicked on it, it says it's loading a document. My PowerPoint's been acting kind of crazy lately. But we'll see if it comes in there. Understand that the larger the file it is, you know, because the longer it's gonna take, and if your computer's real slow or something, it's gonna take longer. Yes, ma'am?
I have a biology teacher who has these really great PowerPoints. It's all animated, it's fill in the blank as it goes along the slideshow. But when she tries to work with the Vimeo to bring it up on the Vimeo, it freezes the animation, everything's just solid, because the PowerPoint itself already has video, audio, and all these other things in it. I mean, it's like the best PowerPoint show I've ever seen. But the animations are totally turned off.
Yeah, I think we will get there with Vimeo, but right now, all of those, you know, drop-ins and stuff that you do, and you do with PowerPoint, when you import it into a Vimeo file, they're not there yet, but I think they're gonna do that.
Is the full audio file imported into the presentation, or is it just a link to the audio file on the computer?
You could put a link in there if you want to, but the full audio file is
I
placed in Vimeo.
was just curious as to whether or not renaming the audio file would cause it to not work.
It'll be imported in there, and I don't know how good it came up. I know some schools, you know, they have different levels of security, I guess if you want to call it that, about teachers downloading stuff. But I do know, I don't know in DeSoto County, do you know if they do Discovery Education, Hot Chalk, whatever, somewhere to get educational videos?
I'm not sure.
Watch Now.
Watch now.
What is it?
Watch Now or
A lot of
Learn
them-
360.
That's good.
Learn
Learn
360.
A lot of them have teacher too.
Yeah. Well, I think a problem in the past has been that if they want to show this live or this streaming video, but you got to go get on there and you got to compete with 4 of the teachers in the same wing, and your bandwidth gets squeezed down because they're all trying to pull video down. So if you can get that video and save it, and then import it into Vimeo software, okay, you can watch the video, but it compresses the video file. So it's, you know, video files can get large very easily, but it compresses and stores in Vimeo. So I don't know exactly what the situation might be here, but I have been places where, you know, if several teachers on the same wing were trying to go get this video at the same time, and you didn't have enough bandwidth, everything got kind of patchy and jumpy, you know.
That's the part.
Take the video file and put it in Vimeo. So we have a PowerPoint here now of the human heart, and we could annotate it and mark up how blood shows or whatever. We can go to our next slide. Identify the parts. Hey, y'all remember the cover slide?
Yeah.
We got a black border, we got a yellow, we got a black border. That's how hard it is to make cover slides. So you get the students come up there and ask them to identify the parts, move the cover slide off of it. Engage the students. Have you heard that
Of course, you
before?
could make those white with no edge around them, so it look like nothing's on there, right?
You could. Of course, you could make a rectangle and have a white border and a white field, and you could cover stuff up. You could lock it, you can arrange the order and the grouping and all that stuff like that. Do all kind of crazy stuff. I'm looking for, I told you we could import a video.
Was that just a regular PowerPoint slide?
That was a regular PowerPoint, about 3-page slide. That's it right there. Three slides. Like I said, the biggest, oh, this is another JPEG, but y'all can watch this one. That's my grandson Rudy up in Chicago. With his fin cap on. I still want to show you guys a video. Oh, here we go. So I can either double tap it. It's actually going to open it in this guy's, anybody speak German in here? Understand German?
Uh-huh.
Ja,
remember I said attendance is education.
No.
You ever tried that before?
Yeah.
So if your teachers don't know this already, another way that you can make this thing, bigger is better in the classroom. So you can choose this full screen mode, and it kind of does away with a lot of stuff that's up here, but you still got all your tools that you can pick, but it makes the image much bigger. That's true. It doesn't just have to be a video, it could be anything. You want to go full screen mode?
Now, while you have the video up there, can you write over the video?
Yes, if I pause it, that's not where I want to stop. Should loop and start playing again. If I touch it. I wish I could understand what he's saying. Actually, I wish I could do that. But I don't think I'm going to try it. I'll probably wind up with a hammer in my head. Okay, you could ride over.
Does it go away when you hit play?
It does not. Okay, that's enough of him. We've seen all that video you want to see. So that's how you import files. PowerPoint, PDF, Word documents. Anybody want to import a PDF?
Sure.
The reason I bring that up, I'm going to talk about screen annotations. But before we do that, why don't we realize that this floating toolbar goes with you anywhere you go. But you got your Mimeo notebook open. So if we decided that we want to do the screen clipping, I use my little A button. See where it says screen clipping? Touch that, screen grays out. If you click it right there, it'll capture that entire desktop as a page. But all we want is this guy's picture right here.
This is like cheating.
So now it drops it into your Mimeo software.
Can you do that again?
Say again?
Can you do that again?
Yeah. And it's not just pictures, that you might want to have in your lesson, but you might want to have some text too. Gee, I don't know what's going on there.
Can't
Why is
get
Facebook up there? I don't even do Facebook. Why is that up there? Screen clipping. If we want to get this, capture this text right here, you just drag it across. Puts it in your lesson. You can resize it, make it big so the kids can see it. While we're here, these are the two small buttons. Two small buttons above the calibrate button. You push the very top one, the top small button. That's the spotlight tool. So if you needed to focus their attention on some particular object, of course you can make that larger or smaller. So if we're talking about efficiency, I'm ready to get out of this instead of me walking all the way over there and hitting that X up there. I could use my B button, my right click. Don't have to touch the board. I could exit it. Next button down. Teachers really like if you ever did the paper on the overhead trick. So you do it up, down, top, bottom, bottom, up, right, left, right. So instead of them reading ahead of you, you can do the, of course y'all are also young, y'all probably Y'all use overhead projectors in y'all place?
Yeah.
And it's going to be to sleep.
Yeah.
But you know, you do the paper on the overhead trick and you slide it down so you can only see so much. So that's how you do it digitally now with the reveal screen. And of course, you can, with both the Spotlight 2 and the reveal, you can change the background transparency if you want to. I don't know why you'd have that up there and you make it so they could sort of kind of see through it. Teacher choice, I guess. And we can also get exit right here to get out of that.
How do you get to that point?
I'm sorry?
To the high picture?
The reveal screen?
Yeah, the reveal screen.
Well, two different ways, really. You can push the first button above the calibrate screen. That's your reveal. Left, right, right, left, however you want to do it. Or, down here in the applications, if you hold your pen tip down on there, and you could do the reveal screen that way. But if you stand over here by the bar, it's kind of easier to do it here, really. I thought. So let's talk about, I'm going to jump all the way down here to the bottom and talk about screen annotations for a minute. Pull that little baby up. So if we hit screen annotation as opposed to importing a file, a PDF, PowerPoint, but if you have something out there, maybe a website that you really want to annotate and mark over, you notice that you hear a sound that kind of sounds like a camera shutter clicking. And there'll be a green border. So basically we're frozen. So, you know, can't really do anything with it, but you can use your Mimeo tools. So if you wanted to highlight this thing, annotate it, you can use all those Mimeo tools with it, but you've only frozen the screen on your computer. So I kind of like, I would rather, of course, you know, you can't import that, but we will. I'll show you how we're going to get this into Mimeo. But if you had a PDF or a PowerPoint or a Word document, you wouldn't be able to scroll up and down like you could if you imported that document into Mimeo. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're kind of stuck right now. We can't go anywhere, can't do anything. So if we release it, push a little button down here in the bottom left, it says mouse. I don't know why, but that's how you release your screen annotation. We go back to our Mimeo notebook, and everybody's saying, God, where is it? I mean, you know, I know I put it in there, but I don't see it. We have to open the gallery. Kind of looks like a picture frame right here. It opens and loads over there on the right. And you'll notice that it has a folder in here called Screen Annotations. So everything is date and time stamped. I believe this is us right here. So whatever we screen annotated, we have to go to the gallery, drag the screen annotation back into the notebook. Everybody got that one? So when you do screen annotation, that particular frame on your computer is frozen, so you can't scroll up and down. But you can do a bunch of cool stuff to it if that's what you need to do. I hope people are using that. I really do. I'm just going to minimize the gallery because we want to spend a little time there in a minute. And see where else we can go. How about a new page? I think we pretty much covered all that stuff. We might as well go to the gallery now. Anybody got any questions while we're... If you guys got a time that y'all got to quit, it's just 10 after 10. We've been doing this for about an hour now. Well, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
We have another presentation at 10:30.
10:30? Okay, cool. I'll hurry. Okay. I don't know where that came from. This is the Mimeo gallery, which we already know about screen annotations. Lots of cool stuff in here. You know, dollar bills, if you're going to tell them how to, or get them to show you, you know, you can put dollar bills and have dollar bills, quarters, nickels, dimes. They can show me $1.31 so they can drag it up there. A lot of different things you can do. So in the gallery we have images, templates, multimedia, and lessons. Multimedia is pretty cool because you can do probability stuff. There you got die that roll and do cool stuff like that.
Does it give you a random number or does it always land on 7?
Say what?
If it's inside a die, Does it always land on 7, or is it like a random number that comes up?
Well, it shouldn't.
Okay.
But when I drag it out, does it
That's
start with
really
7? Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Let me see. Looks like it is on 7, by golly.
On 1.
That's a 1. Maybe it doesn't.
Well, no,
always
it
go on
didn't, it
1.
landed on 8 this time, so it
Yeah,
starts on
it
1.
is giving you a random number every time, so that's cool.
That's right. So you got, of course, you got 6-sided die, 8-sided die. I tell you, a lot of things that I download on teacher desktop. Of course, there's area, triangles. You got all kind of audio stuff in there. Applause. That's enough of that. A lot of stuff in the multimedia file. You can cover stuff and have it open certain ways. You got songs, you got bubble pop answers, which are kind of fun to do with the kids. They like that. You put that over a right answer, the X over a wrong answer. That's the way that you can kind of get their attention.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff in there. You got to spend a little time going through it and kind of find what you like. I'm looking for one thing that I was telling you that I like to. Oh, this is kind of fun right here. I like this one. If I can get it to move. So we could have 8-sided die, and we could do multiplication. And 8 times 4 is?
Nice.
There you go. You do addition, subtraction, multiplication.
Oh, that's really cool.
A lot of stuff like that. We got some interactive protractors, 180 degrees, 360, plant and animal cells. I really am looking for something. I'm not just up here talking to myself. Thermometers. Hey, and that's just in the multimedia thing. It's crazy. There's all kind of stuff in there. Actually, what I'm looking for is that. A lot of teachers like, you like to put kids on a task and time in the classroom. So I always ask them, or I do it myself, but make a one-page Vimeo file and save that to your desktop if you need to put them on a clock and time them. If you have any audio connected in your classroom, that's pretty cool. All right, you guys, you got 5 minutes to clean your desk up and get everything straight before we go to lunch. So you put them on a timer. But instead of having to open Vimeo notebook every time, go to open the gallery and then go to the multimedia and drag it out there, make a one-page Vimeo ink file, put the stopwatch and timer in there, save it to your desktop. Pretty small for you guys in the back of the room to see it. Yeah, you really couldn't see it. So if I select that object, and I go here, and I zoom in, you can make it much larger. A couple different ways you can do that. You can go to magnify right here and make your text and stuff much larger, but you can actually select it and magnify that particular part of the text. What I usually like to do here is, we get some graph paper out there, we measure an angle, and I always ask the guy in the back of the room, what's that angle? And they can't see it, so then we magnify it and boom, blows it up. But we won't do that right now. We got to be somewhere else at 10:30, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. On the Vimeo website, Vimeo.com. One of my favorite teachers of all time was a social studies teacher in high school, Mr. Carter. If he said, you probably want to write this down because you might see it again, you better write it down because it's going to be on the test. We're not going to have a test, but remember, if you want to go to training on the Vimeo website, there's several different areas that you can choose, and one of them is what we like is self-guided. So if you click on self-guided, you've got all kind of video tutorials. These are short little snippets, 2 to 3 minutes at the most. Anything that I've shown you today, you can learn how to do it in one of those video tutorials. They can also sign up for free web-based live training. All you gotta have is an internet connection and a telephone, and you have a live person on the other end. Y'all all know how that works. But you know, I got my Mimio software open, I'm trying what you tried, and I'm trying to do this, and how do I do this? And they show you how to do it. You just have, on the website, you go there and they have times that they're posted, and you register, so that you've got a spot on there. It's free. If you want to learn how to do it, it can be done. Guides, right underneath video tutorials. I always recommend to teachers 12-page overview guide. Save that thing to your desktop. Print out a hard copy to have in your classroom and just hand it. So really pretty much anything that you run into, I mean, if you want to download a 225-page user guide, go ahead. But you can get 12 pages and find what you need to know. Or you can download the whole big huge document. Then you know different strokes for different folks. That's where you go to get training. You can click right here and go to Mimio Connect. We talked about Mimio Connect for a minute. I also have their website up right here. We can go there either way. That's the Mimio Connect side. If you're not a member, you will need to register. I'd encourage all teachers to go there. Doesn't ask for a whole lot of information, but they'll email you back, with a password. And then once you get in there, you can set it to your whatever your password you want it to be. So that's where you go to get free lesson plans, sorted by grade level, and that thing's locked up down there somewhere. Sorted by grade level and subject area. Anybody want to go over capture real fast, like?
Yes.
I got something else cool to show y'all. Did we talk about the freeze screen? We didn't. Okay. So I usually show teachers this because a lot of them don't know about it. Actually, for this particular projector in focus, I had to set the custom button so that when I press that button, I've got this screen is frozen. So if you're in class, it's bell ringer stuff or something that you want the kids to see, but the teacher needs to go work on a grade book or do some email, but the kids don't need to be seeing what she's doing. You freeze that frame, then you can go anywhere you want to go. Frozen on the screen. Y'all probably knew about that already. I know DeSoto County has bought a lot of Epson projectors from Howard, but I'm kind of pushing in focus these days because they got a good price and I like them. But the Epson remote has a freeze button on it. Sometimes with the in-focus you have to go set the custom button, which I did here. So all you have to do is hit the custom button to freeze it and unfreeze it.
So would that work in the case of, say, you've imported a video and, because I had people that had this problem, because you had a video, but you really need to do some grading or upload some information to their grading database. So could she have frozen it that way and with the movie still play, or how does that work?
I know, that's a good question, man. Why don't we find out? Where's that German guy that was throwing the hammers? He's still got the audio, but he's frozen jumping off the back. All right, that's enough of you. So I guess the answer to that is if you do the freeze frame, the audio might keep playing, but I think the video is going to be frozen. But that might be a handy thing for you to tell them. Okay. Here's all the slides we made today. We got 22 slides. We already talked about how to save it. File, save as. Pick your file format you want to save it in. Give it that. So let's do some capture real quick, if you guys want to. Hopefully these batteries work with these pen tips. They have the capture kit, and you have 4 primary colors: blue, black, red, and green. Notice that you have colored caps. It's a standard Expo marker. Other markers will work in there all right, but we'd rather you buy an Expo marker, or at least the newer Rubbermaid people would. There is a little in-cell battery in the cap. Okay, you go to training on the Mimio website, learn about capture. So we're actually going to take this expo marker and pull that cap off, drop it right back in there. You'll notice that there's a spring in that cap, and that spring should go right over the top of the battery. That should be pretty easy to follow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you got pretty good hearing? You guys got pretty good hearing? If I press the tip of this pen, you hear a buzzing noise? Okay. Same thing is true with the Mimeo stylus pen. This has got a little in-cell battery. This has a AA battery in there. So when you press that tip, that's the only time you're actually using battery. The reason I mention that to you, if you're a guy and you put it in your shirt pocket like that, or you put it in your drawer, you jam something up against it, I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is going to run a AA battery out. That's not the end of the world, right? So just remember, that's the only time that you're using the batteries, when that tip is depressed. Had a hard time getting that out. So with Mimeo Capture, totally different mode than interactive. We're going to be able to take a dry erase marker with that provided pen and write on that board, and we'll be able to digitally save those notes. You don't need to have the projector on. So we're going to blank the projector. If I can figure out where the blank screen is. And if y'all notice my laptop right here, and some of you guys in the back may not be able to see it, but see anything over there, guys?
No, because you don't have the pin selected.
You know what we did wrong? I know I said we, but it's really me.
The pin wasn't selected on the Vimeo.
It's frozen.
I just want to see if anybody maybe kind of messed with it a little bit.
It's the little bar that's missing, the pin bar.
Remember, we've been in interactive mode, right? We're going to capture mode. So here's what we have to do. File, connect. You got a bunch of numbers out there. I don't know if that's the number of one of these things. I don't know what that is. But if I click that right there, do I want to disconnect the device from interactive mode? Yes, I do, because I'm going to capture. I hit yes. I think I'm there.
How's it going? Hey.
So let's try that and see how that works. You have to disconnect from interactive mode. File, connect. It asks you, do you want to disconnect? I said yes. I blanked the screen. That's why it wasn't working before. And I said we, but it's really me.
Yay!
There we go.
That's great.
So once we go back to interactive mode, you'll notice that one of our slides will actually have this right here.
That's cool.
Something that probably might be important, I think it will be. You understand that we can erase this from the board now with our eraser, but digitally, it's still on the screen. With that Mimeo Capture Kit does come a digital eraser. Looks like that right there. It's got a AAA battery in the cap. So if you made a mistake when you were writing that digitally up there and you wanted to erase something, you can either erase small or large. And yes, when you push it, it buzzes. I can't hear it because my hearing's not too good. But if you need to erase a small digital mistake, you could do it with your digital eraser. Don't think we need to use that, like just a regular whiteboard notes that you might have written. Erase that whole board. Use your regular whiteboard eraser rather than that. You're erasing digital mistakes, you erase it with this. So I was hoping I'd get to do my favorite formula. Buttons are a little bit different when you're in capture. The top large button is a new page. The second large button down is a duplicate page. So I'm going to use my same dumb math problem that I always use. Still on that screen, isn't it? So if I go to a new page, If I hit the second button down, I'll go to a duplicate page. So that could be just use that really dumb, stupid math problem right there, but anything that's in a progression of steps, you could do it right here with capture. You could also do it with interactive. I'll show you that real fast, Okay, so if we unblank our projector, and we're in capture mode, how do we get out of capture mode? We touch the board with that pen. I'm going to erase this stuff that I got out here on the board. And that very complicated math formula that we just wrote is all right here. This is where we actually started. That was our first page, second page. We're solving that equation. So now you can capture that and save that, as long as you told Mimio that you wanted to go into capture. Anybody want to see how to do the page thing in interactive mode? Real fast.
Sure.
Real fast. Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you. If that toolbox gets in your way, you can double click. Looks like a little paintbrush right there. Rolls the toolbox up. Double click it. Boom. Expands the toolbox. Or, if you're right here by your menu bar, top button, top large button. It's a toggle switch. Turns it off and on. I've had teachers tell me, oh, I closed it out, I don't know how to get it back. You know, you can either push that button right there, or you go to Tools, Mimio Studio Tools, pulls your toolbox back up. A little thing like that can really mess you up. Okay. Anybody remember that formula? It's about as complicated as I get. So I'm going to insert something, duplicate page. I'm going to insert a duplicate page. I'm going to insert a duplicate page. So basically we did the same things that we did in interactive mode. Nothing wrong with using dry erase markers in the classroom. It's good. But if you want to digitally save all that, that's where capture really comes in handy. Because you made just a regular dry erase board, an interactive board. So it doesn't hurt to write on it with your expo markers. Don't write on one of those with expo markers. Not good. Anybody got any questions? We pretty much covered everything kind of sort of fast.
How did you say to get out of capture mode? What did you say first? How did you say to get out of capture mode? I didn't catch that.
Touch the board with the pen.
Oh, okay.
Or you can go to that file connect thing just like we did to get out of interactive. And just do the same thing and it goes you out of it. Back to interactive mode. Questions, anybody?
Nope. You talked about the extern, you said it runs on a totally different program, or are you familiar with that program at all?
Which program?
For Miss Terry's problem with getting the audio connected, the extern voice box, I think we talked about that a little bit earlier.
She still having problems with it? Huh?
Still having problems, she has not used them at all.
This is Lewisburg High. I got an email from her about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we had a guy that came by there and he had to tweak the thing a little bit because the volume wasn't right on the mic.
She hasn't used them at all. They're still
She
sitting
needs to
in
be
charge.
using it.
Yeah.
I'll work on that. Because he had to bring some other device that he needed to connect